Hi, I'm John, and welcome back to Dice Paper Miniatures. In this episode, I kick off a new series I'm working on that's featuring each of the 18 legions that players can play in the upcoming Warhammer the Horus Heresy. Now, the framework I'm using for this series is basically looking at what the Warhammer community is presenting in each of these 18 articles. The lore, the general look and feel of the legion, and of course, its rule mechanics that they're willing to tease at this point. And then maybe down the road, I might have a follow-up as to how accurate I think that these articles presented each of the individual legions. But that would be a series for another time. All right, so again, that's the premises or framework for this series. I'm really excited to get started, and in this episode, we're going to be checking out the Iron Hands. All right, let's begin. So here we are with the Iron Hands, and I gotta be honest, for 40k, this is probably one of the chapters I collect the most, mostly because the look of the models I think are really cool, but also they're just great for a source of kit bashing. So that's kind of my take on them. I know they're I think they're a durable faction in 40k, and I imagine that's the case here in the Heresy, as well as probably more vehicle centric, maybe a little bit on the shooty, but let's go ahead and find out because I'm actually really curious on this legion as well. Is your flesh weak and feeble? Do you crave the strength and certainty of steel? Are you ready to prove you're better, bolder, and harder than anyone else, friend or foe? There's no room for messing around with poetry and gilded armor. Not if you're going to rise to the top of your game. Hard times and harder discipline break all but the toughest of space marines, and that's the Iron Hands. Still here? You've got a good head on your shoulders, and it's earned you a rare privilege, getting cozy with the galaxy's most indomitable warriors in the latest entry of our neutral and even-handed coverage of the Legiones Astartes. Side note, not so much even-handed. Let's hope you can keep up, and there are no medals for second place. That is a pretty gnarly piece of art. I dig it. Yeah, these guys just look chunky. Like, not fancy, just here to kick your ass. Or smash it with a hammer. Hailing from the suit choke sprawl of old Albia, the loyal Quaventine Plate cities, and all over ancient Terra, the early 10th Legion was already known for the warrior discipline and ironclad determination that would serve them well in the battles to come. The Imperial Army's human troops were a little less appreciative of the Legion's low regard for their capabilities. There's no time for the little people when you're on that Great Crusade grind set. If you're familiar with this social media personality Gary V, I feel like if he were to play the Heresy, this would be his Legion. He's all about the grind. The 10th Legion became known as the Storm Walkers, luring out the enemy, weathering the storm, then striking back with an armored spearhead of tanks, dreadnoughts, and legionaries. The craft of war is easy when you're tough enough to be the hammer and the anvil. Their Primarch's arrival only made his legion better, stronger, angrier, with even more technology. I feel like that's the slogan for the $6 million man. And with $6 million in today's currency, you might be able to get a full Heresy army. Shots fired. In fact, the Iron 10th grew so obsessed with the idea of personal invulnerability that many elected to replace their soft, fleshy parts with bionics, appropriate given their Primarch's living metal hands. And his name, and his Legion's name. The trauma of Isstvan V only alloyed his hatred of weakness and failure further into their spirit. And soon, oh god, here's that word again, indefatigable supporters, yes! Only 12 takes. Supporters of the team metal would rule the Iron Hands. You know, if anything, it's relatively, I think, quick army to paint. That's a pro. Done by Hellstorms Wargaming's Mikey and Georgie. Yeah, those guys did a great job. So now to the good stuff. On the battlefield, the Iron Hands are built different. They don't need to hide behind walls like their yellow-clad cousins. Is that why the Imperial Fists are yellow? Because they're cowards? That probably is going to get some hate. Or dash away from a head-on collision like the flighty 5th Legion. Nope, The 10th Legion takes their licks on the steel-capped chin. Tough as Medusa's scales, these Space Marines power through grievous injuries with nothing more than stubborn grit and a steady supply of replacement body parts. The Medusa Scales. All shooting attacks made against a model with this special rule that does not have the vehicle unit type suffer a modifier of -1 to the strength of the attack. That's cool. Models with this special rule and the vehicle unit type instead gain the It Will Not Die 6+ special rule, or if such a model already has a variant of the It Will Not Die X special rule, then the value of that special rule is increased by +1. For example, a model with the vehicle unit type that already had the It Will Not Die 6+ in the Legiones Astartes Iron Hand special rule would instead gain the It Will Not Die 5+ special rule. It's unfortunate you have to use so many words for such a simple thing, but that's the state of things, especially with rules as written. But man, this is, again, in a way, kind of like how the Blood Angels, I felt like, just had a nice always on, very simple but effective ability as well. This is kind of in reverse, sort of, but it's nice. So literally, if this was like an MMO, this is like your tank class, right? Where I guess Blood Angels were like a melee DPS. But yeah, this is cool. The Gorgon's uncompromising attitude would terrify lesser men, but to his sons, that bat-breaking work ethic is a source of true inspiration. His most ambitious warlord shared the unflinching silver iron will needed to shrug off all hardship. Refusing to admit defeat makes it tricky to back off, however. Bloody-minded stubbornness often plunged the Iron Hands into sticky situations, probably losing a few limbs in the process. So we have the Silver Iron Will. A warlord with this trait and all models in any unit he has joined are never affected by any special rule or effect that lowers a characteristic. Wow, that's good, including the Fear X and Rad Phage special rules, and due to losing an assault where the enemy has inflicted more wounds. So this seems like a hard counter already to the Night Lords, potentially. In addition, any army whose warlord has this trait may not make reactions during the movement phase, but may make an additional reaction in either one of the opposing player's shooting or assault phases, but not both. That's awesome. If the warlord is removed as a casualty, then this additional reaction is lost, but the army may make reactions in the movement phase as normal in any appropriate phases after the warlord has been removed as a casualty. You know, I've been looking for a secondary legion, and this one's just completely catapulted forward to probably my top 3. Wow. I dig those special rules. And in all fairness, I really like the look of this Forge World model as well. Name, Ferrus Manus, Homeworld Medusa. Cool name, cool planet, cool model. It's hard to argue those, I guess, characteristics when deciding if you want to play this legion. That's pretty neat. Like his most hirsute brother, the 10th Primarch found himself cast into a deadly ice ball. Unlike Fenris, however, Medusa had no lupine families looking to adopt. Ferrus Manus pulled himself up by his genetically engineered bootstraps, questing into the planet's frozen vaults to loot techno treasures and slay machine monsters. Legends claim that's how he earned his eponymous living metal hands, throttling a quicksilver serpent to death in a river of lava, which is the most metal way to kill something we can imagine. Yeah, that's pretty rad. Ferrus soon became overlord of Medusa's nomad clans and brought peace to his world. Oh wait, no. He encouraged warfare between its people as a means to test their strength with bigger and better guns. This harsh but fair attitude didn't stop when he joined his legion, with fierce internal rivalries over glory and resources. Didn't meet your objectives? Better try harder, lads. You have to earn those bolt shells. Wow. I can imagine there are some political ideologies in today's world that will not like this legion at all. At least if they care about the lore. Meritocracy is the ethos of this legion. Just saying. Aside from his legendary strength and durability, Manus also had a keen head for technology matched only by his grumbling sibling Perturabo. His legion's clans were a testbed for all sorts of shiny new toys, from Terminator armor to Thunder hammers, and the Primarch himself had the skill to forge items both beautiful and deadly, even gifting the matchless sword Fireblade to his favorite brother Fulgrim. That'll come back to bite you. With thousands of worlds falling beneath his advance and a devoted legion of Space Marines who revered his every example, everything was coming up, Ferrus Manus, and then Isfahan. Just a little foreshadowing. So going into the heresy here. Few legions learned the lessons of the Horus Heresy as harshly and abruptly as the Iron Hands. But then, no other legion saw their Primarch cut down by his best mate. Horus's switch infuriated Ferrus, and when Fulgrim tried to bring him on side, the two former friends came to blows. Later, as the treachery of the drop site massacre laid hundreds of thousands of loyalists low, the two erstwhile comrades enjoyed a polite conversation by way of duel to the death. The Gorgon had the Phoenix right where he wanted him, but Fulgrim's corrupted sword yearned for blood and lopped poor Ferrus's head right off at the neck. Alas, he was only the first of the gang to die. Yeah, for being tough, that's a bummer way to go, dude. You might have been able to replace, your hand, your leg, every other body part, but your head? Not even a Primarch can do that. You might think that the loss of a Primarch would drive a legion to maddened despair, but not so the Iron Hands. Nope, they were driven to madden rage. Their stubborn iron will would not countenance retreat even as their gene sire lay dead. And surviving pockets of the 10th Legion proved a vicious thorn in Horus's side throughout the rest of the heresy. Some even refused to admit that Ferrus had died at all. Decapitation? That's just a flesh wound. He's fine. Even Fulgrim agrees. You'd think Vulcan would be more understanding of all people. Yeah, I dig the aesthetic of this legion. It's a little, I could see people say, oh, it's a little bland. Whatever. It's cool looking. Do you know that, like another of his overachieving black-clad brothers, Ferrus Manus harbored the ambition to be declared War Master himself, determined to set an example even the Emperor couldn't ignore. Ferrus set off on a campaign in Ferrus Manus, Gorgon of Medusa, not long before destiny came knocking. After the events of Isfahan V, the battered remnants of the Iron Hands came together with the Salamanders and Raven Guard to form the Shattered Legions, a band of whom faced the newly emergent horrors of the Warp and the damnation of Pythos. And then we have a painting guide here for the Iron Warriors, which is actually pretty straightforward. Black and metal. Dig it. But yeah, like I said, I think if you're new to the Horus Heresy and you're looking to get started with just a solid, I guess pun intended, legion, the Iron Hands would be a good pick. I think their skill sets allow them to be a shooty legion as well as a melee legion, but they also have vehicle perks. So yeah, just looking at these a little bit more closely, I really don't see how you go wrong with this legion. Are they top tier? Maybe. But even if they're not, you're probably not going to have that many bad games. So, I mean, if you want to have, the most bang for your buck fun and feel like you were actually competitive, I don't see how you go wrong with it. What are your thoughts, though? How do you feel? What are the pros and cons of the Iron Hands for you? I'd love to see those in the comments below for sure. Because again, I mean, even on a personal note, I am really considering these as a potential legion that I might play. If anything, as a secondary legion, so I can have a friend I play together, or a recommendation for a friend. Because let's be honest, it's really hard to afford one army. The likelihood of me scrapping together enough to have a secondary backup army to play is becoming less and less likely as we see new models release and their costs. So there is that. But in any event, if you've enjoyed this content and haven't yet, please consider subscribing. It's greatly appreciated and it really does help with the growth of the channel. And as I mentioned before, depending on when you see this video, I may have them all out or they will be out soon, but I'm doing a video on each one of these legions and their rule spoilers, so 18 total. So again, if you like this one, maybe consider checking out some of those other ones as well. So, as always, I hope you're doing well, be safe, take care, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.